It's only common sense if you've come across it before, if you've been told about it before, you've read it before. You know, we deal every day, I'm sure, with people who aren't aware of the massive range of food toys that there are out there, or aren't aware that it's okay to feed your dog out of a food toy. They don't have to have their food out of a bowl.
Hello me bonny bairns, and welcome to episode 19 of the Superhero Dog Owner Show. I'm Dom Hodgson, I'm your host. I'm joined by my very good friend, producer and all-round technical wizard, Alex, the video guy. Basically. Hello. I wasn't going to say that, Alex. I wasn't going to say that. How's it going, Alex? Are you been busy?
Yes, very busy.
Have you started your Christmas shopping?
I've started it, but I have not finished it. There's still plenty
time,
to
dude.
I know it happens every year. You know, keep saying I'm going to do it nice and early, and then, but people think you're ridiculous for buying your Christmas stuff in like November or October or in January. Yeah. But they're the smart people.
Planning ahead. Who's laughing now?
Exactly.
Yeah, not me and you sitting here with no presents. But don't worry, because our respective partners don't watch us anyway. It's not a problem. It's not a problem.
Exactly. They don't know.
So what about dog gifts, Alex? What about what do you, if a dog was going to write his Santa letter? Mm-hmm. What do you think will be on your dog's Santa list?
Oh, I reckon there'd probably be, for most dogs, there'd be some gravy bones or some treats on there.
Yeah, sure.
Kongs, treat dispensers, favourite toys, that kind of thing. Or maybe for the dog who prefers like an experience day, like some of us who prefer to go into the spa, or maybe getting a supercar experience or something like that, instead of like a physical gift. Yeah. Maybe they'd prefer a lovely day out somewhere,
Yeah, with their owner.
Yeah, like an extended trip to the Lake District or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like a proper adventure.
Big old walk, a big old adventure. Yeah. Yeah. Good one. Good. I think that's right. Yeah, I think if you were doggy father Christmas, Alex, I think you would be. All the dogs of the world would be very happy with that.
That's good. I'll work on that for next year.
Some good suggestions there. Yeah. No, I think it's important that even though I find this with some dog owners. It's easy to just go to somewhere like Pets at Home or something like that and spend like 50 quid on junk, really. You know what I mean? Is virtually there's some good there are some good toys that you've described there without a doubt, but there's some stuff that sometimes we just buying for buying's sake, and I think getting something that's gonna really help you with your dog, a lot of owners I think will be far better off buying maybe a long lead rather than a cuddly toy, totally. That the dog's just going to rip up, and because you can really quickly, by using a long lead and stopping your dog from, say, running away from you, chasing pheasants or playing with other dogs, you can really quickly teach your dog that you're a fun person to be with at the park, and you're as much fun as that pheasant. Mm-hmm. And but obviously it takes a bit of effort, so
you and your dog are going to get a lot more out of it than potentially than if it was just something.
It's going to be a really good investment, I think, and another good investment if you're not afraid of putting a bit of effort in with your dog, would be to join my inner circle. My inner circle is buzzing with pet dog owners who are learning how to bond and connect and basically have more fun with their dog. They're having more control. We're all helping each other. They're all loving the Canine Coaching Chronicle they're getting once a month. And it's going really well. So if you think about joining the inner circle, if you read and have bought and have implemented stuff what's in my book, How to Be a Dog Superhero, and you want to learn more about how to have more fun with your dog, the book kind of tells you what to do, but very much the inner circle is about me showing you and about me holding people's hands whilst they try and implement the lessons that we teach in the book. So if you want to learn more and you're not prepared to put a bit of effort in with your dog or with your dogs, we have a number of people in the group who have more than one dog as well. You should go to www.mydogsuperhero.com/inner circle, and you can join the inner circle there. and you'll get your login details and stuff straight away, and I'll see you on the inside. I'll be saying hello to you before you've even finished watching this podcast. But we got another guest today, Alex.
Exciting.
Yeah. This is one of our earlier guests when we were recording, and somebody I really wanted to talk to because I actually bought her book before I even knew her. Her book is called No Walks, No Worries. And what happened was, Sydney, my little Cocker Spaniel, he hurt his cruciate, did his cruciate ligament in his knee, and so he had to have crate rest for quite a while, and I was panicking because I've got this Cocker, But anyway, we talk about that in an interview with Sian. She hasn't just wrote a book, she's got loads of super stuff going on down at Developing Dogs, which is her business down in Ely in Cambridgeshire. So this is the interview. Alex, please press play. So I'm joined today by Sian Ryan. Welcome, Sian.
Thanks very much for having me, Dom.
No worries. Thanks very much for taking the time out of your busy day. I know you've got an appointment coming up very soon to see a little doggy. So thanks very much for taking the time to speak to us today. We're going to dive straight in with the Greyhound round. So I'm going to ask you 6 questions. I want your first answer that comes into your head. This is to allow us to get to know you a little bit better before we get into the more meaty dog training stuff. All right? So your favourite dog cartoon character?
Snoopy.
Good one. Red or white wine?
Oh, white every time. Sauvignon Blanc, if any of my clients are watching.
I'm sure they will be. We'll put that in the show notes as well, just so they make sure that they get that information. Indian or Chinese food?
Indian.
Good stuff. Your favourite superhero?
Oh, God, I don't have one. I suppose I should say Wonder Woman, shouldn't I?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
One that there is.
Yeah, a bit of female solidarity there. All right. Pick a walk: a Westie in the woods or a Pomeranian in the park?
Westie in the woods.
Yeah, good choice. So, dog ownership is like a wonderful thing, and we got a lot of pet dog owners who are watching the show. But it can also be quite hard as well at times, and it can be hard for dog trainers too. So tell us about what's been one of the worst or the most embarrassing things that's ever happened to you as a dog trainer.
I guess, well, probably one of the kind of the most upsetting experiences. I was doing some research with some rescue dogs when I was working for the University of Lincoln, and we were looking at whether they had a positive or negative outlook on life and whether we could measure that. And I was working with one dog who we were teaching them to target our hands for treats. And I was working with one dog who was a really, really lovely dog, but clearly got very frustrated. And during the course of the thing, when he didn't get a treat when he was expecting one, he actually decided to latch on to me, start humping me really painfully, ended up with massive bruises down my legs, and had to kind of go to the rescue centre and say, he's humping me really badly, only to be told, well, he's never done that to any of us. And
sure he hasn't.
And yes, so I was kind of like, yeah, I know that, and it's probably because he's never been in this kind of environment before, and we found this out because he didn't get what he was expecting, and this was his response and things like that. But yes, to kind of that thing of being humped by quite a large dog, to ending up with bruises all over me, and yes, having to say, yeah, sorry, I messed up, I pushed him too hard, he couldn't deal with this, and he's not, they're going, he's never done that to any of us. But yeah, bless him, he was a sweetheart, but he just couldn't deal with the not getting what he was expected.
No.
So they did put in some frustration tolerance training, but it's just interesting how you get different responses with different people and different ways of sort of handling dogs.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Before you were dog trainer, behaviourist, author now, but before you were all of those things, you were just Sian a kid growing up in...
Oh, I grew up in Stratford-on-Avon, or just on the edge of the Cotswolds.
Cool. So what did you... who inspired you to start working with dogs, or what compelled you to start this life of working with dogs?
Well, you kind of have to fast forward about 30 years, actually. From when I was a kid, I had lots of dogs, horses, cats, guinea pigs. We lived in on the edge of a village, and sort of lots of animals and things. And but I then actually wanted to work. I wanted to be in politics and social policy and stuff like that. And I ended up working in the health service for many years as an IT project manager. And along the way, met my husband, who claimed not to like dogs, not to be a dog lover. And I always knew that was totally untrue. But anyway, and he was a teacher at the time. And he told me he wanted to stop being a teacher and wanted to become a rowing coach. And I was like, well, that's fine. We met through rowing. We were both rowers. I can support you in that as long as we get a dog. Because if you're going to be working evenings and weekends, I want something to keep me company. I want something to do. I want a dog because they can be with you during the day. And then when I'm home from work, I've got the dog. Say I'd really missed having a dog of my own as an adult. Family dogs and stuff weren't mine by that point. So this was 12 years ago, I think now, and we got the dog. And as a result of that, I got into dog training. I was asked by the people that I was training my dog with to join them and start teaching. And several years later, after my husband was kind of established as a rowing coach, I decided that I was living for my weekends when I was doing stuff with the dog. I was living for taking the week off work when he went to Henley regatta, so I had to look after the dog. And so I went into work, handed in my notice, and with the view that I was going to do something dog related, didn't know what, but I had 3 months to work that out. And the day after I handed in my notice, Lehman Brothers crashed. Then sort of the global sort of recession, credit crunch, everything started. And I was like, oh, this is a really good time to have done this. So I did some part-time work whilst I studied. And the upshot of that is I did my master's at University of Lincoln and then went to work for them for 3 years whilst Paddy stayed on in London as a rowing coach and I lived up in Lincoln. So that was kind of a very edited version of it. But from there, you get the story about how we found this place and stuff as well. But
so it all started with the dog then?
Yeah.
Who was the dog?
Sorry?
Who was the dog?
The dog is Riley, who I think... Oh, she's not. She was behind me.
Sure.
She's a little Staffy Cross who has taught me a lot. She's had lots of health problems. She's one of the reasons why No Walks, No Worries exists. Lots of health problems, behaviour problems as a result. But she's absolutely adorable, and has been by my side through it all. So
brilliant, fantastic. So I'm pleased you mentioned No Walks, No Worries, because I want to talk about that now. I have my copy here. I've had it for a year or so. I think it's a fab book. I think it's an essential book actually for. I myself I've got a Cocker Spaniel who, being a Cocker, he's really high energy, and we do scent work and all that kind of thing. And a couple of years ago when he did his cruciate ligament, and all of a sudden I thought my world and his world had ended when and oh my God, how am I going to keep this dog from moving around really, for this period of time. Yeah. But No Walks, No Worries it's just a fab resource, I think, because and every dog owner is at some point in their life is going to, unfortunately, have their dog where they're going to cut their paw or pull a ligament, or something even worse, but where the dog is going to have some crate rest. So tell us a story about how the book came about then.
Well, there's lots of things that came together. I mentioned Riley, who has ongoing back problems, had various other things when she was younger, and so I've had to change what I did with her. We stopped agility, we did things like that. So that was kind of one thing. I then ended up fostering for Greyhound Gap an absolutely adorable little Saluki cross puppy who was handed in at the vets because she'd badly broken one of her front legs, and the owners never came to collect her. She came to me with pins in her legs, 12 weeks old, having been in the vets for 2 weeks, and under strict orders that she wasn't allowed to be a puppy, she wasn't allowed to run around, she wasn't allowed to do anything, she had to be on very restricted exercise. So that in itself was a challenge for me. She was a dog who didn't eat, had no interest in food, so sort of food toys, food games would struggle with getting her to sort of be interested in that. Of course, she couldn't play with toys. She couldn't do anything that puppies needed to sort of try and keep them entertained. So we got through it. She ended up being with me for 9 months through 3 different surgeries, and finally ended up having her leg amputated, and then went off to her new home, as well-adjusted puppy as she was ever going to be. She was fabulous. She was absolutely awesome, brilliant with other dogs, loved people. Eventually started eating when she was about 2 years old, from what her owners say. But she made me think a lot about what do these puppies need, what's her needs. I've got to keep the socialization. I've got to be able to do all of this stuff. I've got to meet her emotional needs, her physical needs, and her mental needs. So that was kind of part of it. And then I was working in the behaviour clinic at the University of Lincoln, and we had a spate of cases where the dogs had been absolutely fine until something had prevented them from going for walks. Injury, owner's illness, various different things. And it wasn't the actual injury, the physical stuff or the ill health that had caused the dogs problems. It was the lack of access to their normal routines, to the outside world, to people visiting them, etc., that seemed to have triggered the issues. And it just made us think that there's a gap out there. There was nothing that, there's lots of stuff, there's brilliant books, brain games for dogs and that kind of stuff that will keep your dogs mentally occupied. There was nothing that encouraged owners to think about the rest of it, the emotional stuff, the physical stuff that they can do in those circumstances, and to try and get across that walking is not just about your dog going out there and running around. There's all sorts of other things that happen when you can take your dogs for walks. So that those two came together. And then again, one of the master students at the University of Lincoln wanted to look at what advice was being given. And the results from her research suggested that very few vets were giving behavioural advice. They were saying, stick the dog in crate rest for 6 weeks, but not at the very best that she found was that they were giving advice on how to crate train and how to loose lead walk. But she didn't actually monitor the appropriateness of that advice. So again, there was nothing that said, think about your dog's emotional needs, and nothing to support the owner as well. Because as you said, that moment where the vet just says, just keep him quiet for 6 weeks, and your heart just goes, I can't do that. Yeah. I just can't do that.
Feel like you're failing your dog,
Yeah, and you panic about how am I going to do this? What am I going to do? And so we just wanted to produce something that gave people support, gave people the ability to plan what they were going to do. And, the book could have been 4 times as long, 10 times as long, because there are so many ideas out there. But we decided we can't make this a training book. We can give you the outline, and then hopefully people will follow up on some of the book suggestions that we give, or they'll go onto YouTube and they'll look at the great videos that are out there for various different things.
It's a fab book. It's the illustration, the pictures are superb. It's really simple to follow. I love it. So if there's a dog owner watching us now and their dog's just cut his paw, or he's had a cruciate, or he's had God forbid, had a leg removed or something like that, what would be the kind of top 3 things that you would suggest, easiest things that they could do to stimulate that dog and to keep them going?
I think it depends on how long the dog is going to be confined for. One of the points we make in the book is that if you are facing a dog with, say, an external fixator who is not going to be allowed to move for the next 3 months, then the important things are to get that dog to love their crates, to get that dog to love relaxing, to get that dog to be content in that situation.
Make it a pleasurable place for the dog to be in. Yeah,
because that's where they're going to be confined. So that's what you need. For a dog who's cut his paw and is just going to be on lead walks for a few days, the crate rest is less important. The quick wins there are, do you need a different sort of harness or a different head collar that you have to rapidly introduce, make fun for the dog so that you can walk them safely so they're not going to cut their paws. But what we kind of say initially is think about absolutely everything. Don't discount everything. Make a note, make a list if you need to, and then look at what your quick wins are for your particular situation. And often things like that are getting a baby gate up to stop the dog from going up the stairs, buying a new harness or head collar, and buying a crate if you don't have one already, but getting something in place, taping up the doorbell so that no one can put a note on the door. And one of my clients did an awesome note for her dog when he was doing it, needing not to be excited by the door, and stuck it on the door, taped up the doorbell, put a thing over the knocker, and so that the dog didn't get stressed by that. And you know, it was just
fantastic advice. It's practical. It's things that people can do straight away. You know what I mean? You don't have to be a dog trainer to do that, do you? You just have to be sensible and know what to do,
and have someone to have suggested it, because you know, a lot of the time for us as dog trainers, and certainly it came out in the vet research that was done as well, in that one of the reasons why vets didn't give behavioural advice about how to keep dogs happy in their crate for 6 weeks, because they believed it was just common sense. It's only common sense if you've come across it before, if you've been told about it before, you've read it before. You know, we deal every day, I'm sure, with people who aren't aware of the massive range of food toys that there are out there, or aren't aware that it's okay to feed your dog out of a food toy. They don't have to have their food out of a bowl, you know, because the important things, lots of people have sort of come up with this list of what do I need to get when I get a dog, and it's a collar, a lead, a food bowl, a bed. It's like, food bowl is way down my list of priorities. You know,
throw away the bowl. We're always saying that up here.
But you know, a metal bowl, nah. It's
great advice again. So thanks for that, Sian. That's really good tips that people can use straight away. Again, I would highly recommend people purchase the book, even if they don't have a dog with an injury. I think it's great to get them used to doing less physical activities, isn't it? You know, so that's another reason for anyone to buy it as well. We're coming to the end of the interview now. Where can you know, when you're not doing behavioural work, running classes, writing books, and getting interviewed on podcasts, what does Sian Ryan like to do to chill out?
I don't get much time to chill out.
Walk the dog.
Yeah, pretty much. No, I'm making a concerted effort a bit more this year. My mother was very ill from August last year and died in January, and that has made me reassess a little bit. The previous 2 years had been very much about getting this business up and running, and the Developing Dogs Training Centre had started in Ely a couple of years ago, and new to the area, new business. It has been very intense. This year I am making a concerted effort to do stuff for me. I am just learning to run at the moment, which seems like an odd thing.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I saw your gait's getting better.
It's been really, really good for me. It's given me a sort of focused, and I love learning to do new stuff, because I think as a trainer, I'm teaching people. I like to be taught things because I pick up stuff from other people in terms of, that's a really good way of engaging. But I also think it's really important to not be the expert. I think it's really important to keep learning. Mm-hmm. So I'm doing some stand-up paddleboarding as well this year. I've done some surfing. And I'm just making an effort to try different things and do different things. But other than that, I will be found with a glass of wine and a book, and hopefully sometimes with a very, very good group of female friends down in London who have been an absolute support within the group for the last 12 years we've known each other.
Brilliant. So important to have a good support network, isn't it? And that's fantastic. Well, thanks very much for your time today, Sian. Where can people go to find out more about you, the book, and what you do?
The website developingdogs.co.uk gives everything about the classes that we run, the workshops that we do, the facilities that we have here, and yes, I've got a blog on there, so it's a good place to have a look. Or else we've got a Facebook page as well. Developing Dogs on Facebook will find us. So
awesome. Well, thanks very much for your time once again, and I look forward to having you on the show next time.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks, Sian.
Bye.
So, Alex, how awesome was that?
You got there before me. It was awesome.
It was brilliant. Awesome. Yeah, she's super knowledgeable, Sian. I really appreciate her giving her time, as I appreciate all of the dog trainers who we're getting on the show, giving up their time. You should definitely check her book out. It's well worth buying. It's full of pictures and stuff. It's fantastic. next week on the show, Alex, I'm going to do something that I've been promising to do for you for the last few weeks.
Okay.
We are going to finally leave this godforsaken, freezing cold van, and
God.
we're going to decamp to the fireside, and we're going to have a fireside podcast. I'm not quite sure how cheesy it's going to be yet. Me and Alex may be wearing onesies, we may not be, but we're going to be talking about food with dogs. Yeah, we're going to be talking about how you can use the food a lot better to have a bit more fun and have a bit more control with your dog. So you do not want to miss that episode. If you're enjoying the podcast, please head over to iTunes and leave us a rating and a review. Yeah, that'll make you feel good and it'll make us feel even better. So that's it from me.
That's it from me.
Thanks very much for watching, and if we don't see you through the week, we'll see you through the window.